Hello, and thank you for joining us for part 11 of the Friendship Faith Sharing. I know that sounds like a lot of videos, but they're short. If you haven't seen the first 10, I plead with you to please go back to number 1, watch them through, one a day when you have your coffee in the morning or having your break at your job. Just open it up on your phone, watch those videos very quickly. You need that background to see where we're coming from when we get to this lesson, okay? Now we're on page 7. So if you have a handout that's been given to you by the pastor or the church leader, the lead teacher that's invited you to learn about this program, get that out and turn to page 7. If you don't have that, that's okay. You can click on the link that's below in the description section, and there will be a link to a PDF that's just the page that we're talking about today. So it's easy to open up. It's not a big file. And you can follow us in this. But remember, it's important to look at the other lessons first. Now we've gotten to the point of the question that we're going to ask. And there are two very important things, and I will be reminding you of this over and over and over again. As pastors, as teachers, as Sunday school teachers, as Christians in our community, we know it's important for us to counsel and to discuss sin that might be in the church and address it in a kind and gracious way. We understand that's vital. We need to do that. That's part of our job as Christian leaders, is to help the believers mature and help the believers to grow in that purity of life. But in the context of sharing our faith, when there's somebody in our life and we don't know that they know how to know Christ, I can take care of all of the sin in their life, or if I could take care of all the sin in their life, if I haven't introduced them to Christ, I've not done them any good. I've made them not saved, I've just made them a better sinner. And I don't want to do that. So in the context of this lesson, now from the pulpit, I might need to address the church about sin. In a Sunday school class, I might need to educate my class about sin and the impact that it has on us. Scripture addresses all of that. In a counseling situation, I might need to address sin and how it's having an effect on the family or on the person's life. All of that's very valid. But when I don't know if a person knows how to know Christ and they're in my life, they're a family or a neighbor, I want to make sure that they know. That's what we're talking about. That's the context. The second thing is we're going to assume when we get to the questions, and there will be a total of 3 before this is all over, but we're just going to deal with 1 at first. It's vital that we understand we don't jump to the question. We don't go knocking on doors. We don't find people at random. We just don't blurt it out to what's going on in the person's life. The first thing we do is we've engaged with someone. God has put somebody in our sphere of influence. Maybe it's a neighbor, a coworker. Maybe it's somebody that we meet in the park and go for walks with, or whatever it might be. And that we ask them this question. But we are looking for an opportunity to ask them this question. We just don't do it abruptly. And first we found out something about them, and we've loved on them. We've engaged with them some way. And here's an example. Let's say I have a neighbor, and my neighbor's name is Joe, and Joe, I find out that his sister is, and he's an older guy like me, and I find out that Joe, his sister's in the hospital, is having some health troubles, and I say, Joe, I'm sorry to hear about your sister. I know that's a struggle, and I hope things get better for her. Do you have any updates? What's going on? And so I just listen to what he has to say. Maybe he needs to weep a little bit. Maybe he's frustrated with the medical system, and there's all kinds of things, and I'm just going to listen. I will take the time to let him share where his life is, regardless of whether I agree with what he says or if I think I have medical answers. And I'm not going to be there for that. I'm just going to be there to listen. And then after he shares that with me, I'm going to acknowledge whatever he said. Well, Joe, I'm sorry that you're going through this. I don't know what your sister's feeling. I've not been through that illness that she has, but I know it can't be good, and I will be praying for her. In fact, Joe, is it okay with you if I pray for her with you right now? Chances are he's going to say yes. Now, if he says no, I'm not going to say, well, you need to be praying for her and get all over the person. I'm going to try to keep the door open. I'm going to say, okay, I'll keep praying for her. And I said, Joe, if there's a time that you want us to maybe go visit her together, we pray with you for her, just let me know. I'll be happy to do that. And I'm going to kind of just let things go. I'm not going to push to ask this question because I want to show him that I respect who he is and what he does and doesn't care about. But I'm probably, after I've loved on him and his situation a little bit, and I've prayed with him for his sister, And I've not mentioned any of the other spiritual things that are going on. I've just addressed the need that's very real in his life and her life. And I'm going to say, Joe, we're older guys and we've lived long enough to know that we're not going to live forever. And I'd like to ask you a very important question if I could. I hope you live longer than anyone else you know and that every one of your days are healthy. But just if you should die today, are you 100% certain that you'd go to heaven? I'm going to be very gentle about it. I'm going to be very soft about it. Sometimes when I teach, I have to be loud. I have to be kind of pushing forward and getting people back on track. But boy, when I'm sharing this, I'm not. I'm going in there gracious and gentle like a dove and wanting them to listen. And I truly feel that way. If you can't feel that way in this, let's deal with that spiritual issue first, and then we'll come back to this lesson later. And I don't know how Joe's going to answer me. He may say yes, he may say no. He may say, I don't believe in that stuff, and who knows what the answer is going to be. But right now, that's not important. Right now is that I've gotten him thinking about eternity. And I've shown him graciousness in that I'm willing to listen to what he has to say. I'm willing to absorb it. I'm willing to take no for an answer if he doesn't want to listen to me, and I've kept the door open. That's just an introduction. I know that doesn't answer all the questions that follow, but thank you for listening this far. We're going to get into these questions a little more deeply. So if you get a chance, look over page 7 and take a break, and a couple hours or tomorrow come back and let's be ready for lesson number 12. Okay? God bless you.